Hi everyone, welcome to Leadership Adventure. Today is Thursday, so that means it's time for our Devo episode. And as a reminder, our Devo is a weekly video-style podcast designed for leaders of faith. I wanted to remind you also that I also send out this content in a weekly MailChimp email list, so if that's more convenient for you to receive it in that format, simply head on over to my website, leadership-adventure.com. You can sign up for either the blog, which comes out on Tuesdays, or the Devo, which comes out on Thursdays. And in terms of the video style podcast, which is what you're listening to right now, that's just a simple audio restatement of the content contained in the emails. So I just wanted to get it to you in audio format in case that's a little bit more convenient. So today's episode is called Two Big Questions. Last year, my pastor challenged me with two questions. They both turned out to be big questions for me because both of them uncovered blind spots in my leadership. Here are the questions. Number one, what is the heart of Christ in any given situation? And number two, does it need to be said? These questions are straightforward, but I realized that I didn't seriously consider either one of them before making many of my daily decisions, but not anymore. So today's question for you is, are you considering these same questions in your leadership? Let's discuss the heart of Christ first. Take a look at the following verses with me. All of them are referenced from the English Standard Version. Matthew 11:29 says, "Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls." John 13:34 and 35 says, "A new command I give you, love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another." Matthew 9:36 says this, "When he saw the crowds, he had compassion on them because they were harassed and helpless like sheep without a shepherd." And the final verse that we'll be taking a look at today is Ephesians chapter 3, verses 17 through 19. "So that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith, and I pray that you, being rooted and established in love, may have power, together with all the Lord's holy people, to grasp how wide and long and high and deep is the love of Christ, and to know this love that surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled to the measure of all the fullness of God." Now, each one of these verses speaks to a different aspect of the heart of Christ, and for today I'd like to highlight or focus on 7 of the characteristics that these verses uncover for us. Number 1 is love. Jesus taught us that the greatest commandments are to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and to love your neighbor as yourself. Christ's heart embodies empathy and compassion to others. Do our hearts reflect the same priority daily? Number 2 is forgiveness. Jesus urges his followers to forgive others as God forgives their own sins. Are we extending forgiveness to those who've offended us, or are we harboring secret grudges or resentments? Number 3 is humility. Jesus was humble, including washing the feet of his disciples as an act of service. Are we placing the glory of God above all else without seeking personal recognition or reward? Number 4 is selflessness. Jesus' life was marked by acts of selflessness and service to others. He poured out himself so we could join God's family. Are we willing to help others solely for their well-being without always putting our own agendas first or seeking the credit? Number 5 is obedience. Jesus was obedient to God's will even when it led him to sweat drops of blood and suffer death on the cross. Are we willing to submit to God's will to that extent and to align ourselves with God's purposes no matter what? Number 6 is empathy and compassion. Jesus showed empathy and compassion to those who were suffering, marginalized, or in need. Are we extending care and understanding to those who are hurting or in need of support? Number 7 is prayer. Jesus often retreated to pray, where he submitted every single thing to the Father. If spending time with the Father was that important to Jesus, how much more so for us? There are a lot more, but these 7 are a great start. Each of these are also an aspect of servant leadership. Now on to the second question. Does it need to be said? This highlights the importance of thinking before speaking and considering our audience. If a person is not directly involved in a situation, always think twice before saying something about someone else. If what you are about to say is something personal, always seek the other person's permission before sharing with a third party. As leaders, of course, it is our job to regularly assess people, performance, and interpersonal situations, and that, by necessity, entails talking about them. But we can still do this while reflecting Christ's heart and closely guarding our words. At our church, we say public cheerleader, private critic. I like that a lot, and I've taken it to heart. Now, to wrap up today, how about you? Do you need to make any changes or personal adjustments as you consider these two questions? Considering these questions in your decision making and in your speech will make you a stronger, more effective, and more trusted leader. That's all for today, you guys. Thanks for listening as always, and I will look forward to seeing each of you next time.